Hello and welcome to a Writer's Odyssey, where we will be learning language skills for life. This series is on Directed Writing 411. I am Wendy Bowe. Let our travels begin. By the end of this video, you will be able to explain what directed writing is, discuss the expectations of the directed writing question, note 5 types of directed writing formats, and assess the steps necessary for composing a directed writing response. You may ask, what is directed writing? Directed writing is a piece of writing that follows a set of specific directions or instructions.
Within your class and for national exams, you will be exposed to directed writing as you will have to respond to a directed writing question. The directed writing question guides you on how to answer the question. It tells you what you should be writing about, to whom you should be writing, what form of writing you should be using, and the persona you should take on as you write your answer. For your information, the directed writing question is worth the most points on papers 3 and 4. And for paper 3, a third of the entire points of that paper are designated to the directed writing question.
There are some things that the directed writing question expects you to be able to do. Let's look at them. You will be asked to identify implicit and explicit details. Can you remember what implicit and explicit information are? Remember that implicit information are those details that you must infer or figure out using clues provided by the author, and that explicit information are those details that have been stated directly by the writer. There's no reading between the lines required there. You must also paraphrase information. That is, you must reword the information or put the information in your own words. You must also read the passage closely and carefully. Pay attention to all of the details of the passage. Apply grammar and writing skills. All that you've learned about sentence structures and avoiding fragments and run-on sentences, using the correct tense and making sure that the subject and verb agree will all come into play here. The question also expects you to use a range of persuasive and expository devices or techniques, so don't forget how to use your rhetorical questions or to make your direct personal appeals. Connect with your audience. Don't forget that you must also use an appropriate tone. This will be determined by what you have to write about or your purpose for writing. And finally, vary your vocabulary. Pull deep from the list of vocabulary taught to you by a teacher and use a few of them. Make sure that they are appropriate for the idea you wish to convey.
Now that you know the expectations of the directed writing question, let's look a little bit more closely at the formats that you may be asked to use in a directed writing response. I promise you, these are formats that you have studied already with your teacher in class. Can you think about some of the different forms of writing that your teacher has asked you to use in response to a directed writing question? Well, some of the more common formats that you may be asked to write are a letter to the editor. It's possible that you could be asked also to write a speech. The directed writing question may also ask you to write a formal letter, a newspaper article, or a journal entry. Here is the last bit of the 411 on the directed writing question. If you want to be an expert at understanding the directed writing question and how to respond to it, then follow these steps. Read the prompt carefully and ask yourself these questions. What information am I required to give? What am I to write about? What is my role? Or who is the character that I am asked to become? Who is my audience? Who will I be writing or speaking to? And finally, what am I writing? In search of the answers to the questions we've just asked, remember to underline the important details in the prompt. Make sure that you take note of these details because they will assist you with answering the question. Also, remember to state the purpose of the writing clearly and to also address your audience. Remember, this should be done in the introduction of your directed writing response. Also, and this is very important, select relevant information only. Use information that is relevant to the question and use information from the passage only. Do not introduce ideas of your own unless you have been asked to do so. A good piece of writing is usually very organized. So remember to organize your details. These details must be organized first based on the organizational structure of the formats we discussed earlier. Also, you must develop your ideas in paragraphs with the appropriate support from the text. So as you write and organize your ideas, remember to elaborate on each point in a different paragraph. Remember that paragraphing is important. Also, remember to adhere to the word limit. This is where your summary writing skills will also be very important. And just like that, we've come to the conclusion of our first video in our series on directed writing. Go and practice.
See you on our next expedition of A Writer's Odyssey, where you will be given the 411 of directed writing.